This is Russell Dobular sitting in for Jimmy Dore, who will be in Denver on May 11th. Go to jimmydore.com for tickets. I want to close out with Jerry Seinfeld has been sharing his wisdom because he just directed some movie about Pop-Tarts or some shit.
He fucking ruined his show for me now.
And I think
Edgelord Jerry Seinfeld?
Edgelord Jerry Seinfeld. You know, it's funny. You look back on Seinfeld now, and it is such a product of this bubble where the Cold War had ended, peace dividend, booming economy. It is only in that context you could have a show premised on nothing. It's a show about nothing. It's a comedy of manners. It's not getting your soup, right? You could never. It would be unintelligible if you tried to pitch that to them.
I always kind of like take issue to they always go, it's about nothing, and you're just like, it's a situational comedy, just like any other. It's like, well, it wasn't about nothing. It was about, you know, George is trying to buy a new car, and there's a problem. Like it was like
they were all about nothing. What you mean?
Honestly, in a weird way,
if you're more about nothing.
If you're a New Yorker. It's almost Noel Coward. It's a comedy of manners about the neurotic people of the Upper West Side. That's one thing that's kind of surprising that it became such a worldwide phenomenon.
No, I got to push back on that. I think it's about everything. I think it is high art on the level of Mozart, Sistine. Seinfeld is just an absolute masterpiece.
I agree with them.
Deserved at the end.
No, because what it proved was that the reason it was such a big hit is because it proved that everybody has those same neuroses that we typically ascribe to, you know, Upper West Side Jews. When the lady sneezes and George waits to say "God bless you," it's like, no, I wasn't being rude. I was expecting a second and a third sneeze, and I was going to say the "God bless you" at the end of the three. I wasn't going to say it each time. I was going to wait for the trio since they usually come in threes. People think that. That's absolutely something that thought is not unique to George Costanza. That's universal, and that's just one of countless things. Right?
I think your society has to not be having a lot of problems for that to be what your show's about.
I think no matter what circumstances it exists under, people will always have those kinds of issues. I think that's why it has a lot of replay value.
No, but it is true though. Like,
and I hate this fucking guy now, and I still love the show. Like this guy's revealed himself to be one of the biggest assholes in show business, and I can still watch Seinfeld reruns.
Right?
Yeah. To what you're saying, I was just saying
happened?
That, like, what?
Wait, what do you mean? What did he do? And show
No, he was posing for photos with the IDF. He's meeting up with Barry Weiss. Yeah, no, he's a full bore. Yom Israel, whatever what was the phrase?
Israel
high, whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
There is some grace. Like when you see a 7-year-old rich Jew, you're like, what do you expect him to be out there at Columbia with the Palestine sign? Like you probably what's the way he's going.
I mean, in his case, I wish he had seen your video and just kept his fucking mouth shut.
All right.
Because
So now, Ryan, I've seen some of your interviews, and I think your take on this is kind of interesting on the left PC is destroying comedy as he shakes his fist at the cloud here. So let's see what he says, and I want to get your take on this.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. Mm-hmm. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke. Well, that's the end of your comedy. They move the gates like in skiing. Yeah. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
Okay, so I've seen you talk a little bit about this question of, oh, the PC people are destroying comedy, and from what I've seen, your responses tended to be, no, whole new opportunities have been created.
Yeah, I think people want me to be more black-pilled about it, but I'm not. I mean, his original point that bureaucracy ruins art, I think that's almost a truism, and I'm like, I always thought that's kind of what I was saying with, like, you know, the Canadian system. Like, you know, obviously the more people that are involved in like a bureaucracy to make art is not how like creativity works. I mean, right. Jerry Seinfeld has good comedy points. He said that making a really good TV show sometimes is like throwing a dart at a dartboard with a blindfold on and having 5 people helping your hands not going to help it do better.
Right.
And I thought that was a good point. But in terms of I think it's a fair point to say that the industry, was negatively affected, and probably, some of the PC stuff is why that there's, less good comedy movies and less good TV shows.
Of course.
But things just got decentralized. But I think that's good. Like, I don't mind the idea that, someone like Jimmy Dore, you have a huge show here that, Kurt and Kyle, like even the sketches you were making, and I kind of run my own little business. I mean, I have an office here in Manhattan. I have a bunch of people that work for me. Like, I think this is actually like good for comedy. And, obviously ticket sales are probably, a lot of people like going comedy. Kurt, you made that point where people go, you can't say anything anymore. And you're like, no, comedians are kind of the only ones who can say stuff anymore. It's the normal guy that can't.
You're not allowed to say normal things you think or just have an opinion. I'm not very comfortable with Jimmy's anti-Zionism, I have to be honest. And that could affect me. And that's an important topic. And you're trained to be afraid to talk about. That's crazy to me. The only way you can say anything is through a joke. You have to have a really clever. What Seinfeld said is correct. You got to get around the gate to say what you want. If you're like, I don't think that men are women after all. Whoa. You're not allowed to say normal. Reality.
Well, and probably the part that sometimes is also weird is like comedians, I think naturally will be like, oh, it's just a joke, because that can be like somewhat of a get out of jail free card. But like, well, sometimes it was just a joke. And sometimes you do think that though. Like, what I mean? If you're just like, women are like, annoying because of this and this, and you're like, it's just a joke. It's like, well, do you think that? And you're like, no. It's like, well, it's kind of sounded like an opinion. Like sometimes it's an opinion with a joke on it, and sometimes it is actually just a joke. So it kind of is both at the same time. And I think that sometimes it's like maybe cowardly for comedians to say it's just a joke when you actually did think that.
Kurt, you don't really you're not really upset about my Zionism stance, are you?
No, but the whole point is, if you were to bring up on I've been at so many shows the last few weeks where people are like, just never mind whether you're pro or anti-Zionism, don't even bring it up, dude. Like, people get, or just think of every podcast where afterwards, or if you had one guests on, hey, can you take that out? And of course I'll take it out.
Why?
And I'm like, why? This is normal to everyone? That's how we got to talk?
Well,
just go, no, all the good stuff, no one can hear.
Well, there's the thing though. I think a lot of us, in some respects, were spoiled on these platforms. At one time, you would have had to go through the network. There were no platforms like this.
Well,
Rod Serling created the Twilight Zone because he knew the censors wouldn't get the metaphors if he did science fiction. Like, that's how locked down it was. We have so much more freedom than that, but we freak out every time they shut off the comments, which I'm not saying they should do. But
you have a new thing that you're fighting against, which is the social media platforms, which does suck. But I prefer to be out of the system than in the system. I like this better.
Well, it depends if the system wants to make it so you cannot survive and how much they want that to happen to you.
So
it's like China. Whatever you think about China, that's what they do here.
But are we really substantively worse off? Like, yeah, they could shut us off, but that was always the case, right?
Sure.
Jackie Mason couldn't get a gig for decades because he made an off-color joke on The Tonight Show. Like, it was always like that.
No, stand-up you could always do. You stand-up.
Yeah, we might be better off.
It's really not, and you can't really get kicked out of stand-up. That's what. Because it's.
That's the thing, Kurt. They're like, oh, we're going to take your jobs away, and we're like, what jobs? I don't have a job.
well, PayPal, your fucking bank.
They can debank you,
Maybe
right?
You can't stay in a hotel.
Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing to Jackson Hinkle. Right.
Yeah,
so
right.
Jackson Hinkle's they've taken away his Venmo. They've taken away his PayPal. They've taken
I agree.
away.
That's what I'm saying. Now you have new things that you're fighting. I was talking in the context of the industry. That's the only thing they can take away. Now we all have, different fights that we have to do, which, it sucks. Now you're fighting against, big tech where you used to be fighting against, Johnny Bernstein.
I've been canceled by venues and theaters that I've sold out for years, and now they won't have me back anymore because they have a misinformed opinion of what my comedy is about and what I'm about.
What was the one? What was the specific? Was there like a specific issue that they said, or was it just like a general?
It's just a general. They'll say things like, "Hey, we're not doing politics anymore." They'll say shit like that. Right. I had one place, Thalia Hall in Chicago, my hometown. I sold that place out for years. They said,
"What are they? Google?"
They go, "You're not funny." That's what they said. All of a sudden, they just go, "You're not funny." And I think what happened was the last time I was there, we were going hard against the squad and the AOC, and we were telling the truth about COVID, and that got me the Alberta Rose Theater in Portland canceled. I had 2 sold-out shows already. They canceled them because I asked a question about their mask policy. And so it's I think it really happened with COVID, and they saw you as if you questioned COVID, you were a Nazi, you were a white supremacist, you were a Trumper, you were anti-American, you were racist, you were every bad thing in the world. If you asked a question about COVID, and every question we raised about COVID, we happen to be 100% correct. And so no one will ever apologize for being wrong about COVID ever. But believe me, if I would have ended up being if I would have ended up being wrong about COVID, they would have never stopped demanding I apologize for it. But Ryan, you said you have an office in Manhattan, you have a bunch of people that work for you. What do they do? Are you doing multi-level marketing? What exactly do people do for you?
Mostly a lot of snacks, mostly snack preparation.
Are those the people on the subway selling the peanut M&Ms?
Yeah, exactly. No, they go out and sell tickets. They go sell hard copy discs on Times Square of my sketches, and they sort of put it in the person's hand, and they tell them it was $20. That would be a real Palestine sketch.
Is it mostly production people? What do you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh,
editing,
okay.
Yeah.
Right,
editors. Yeah. Most of the people. There's a little bit of research stuff, but most of the time it's editing and management of the social media platforms. But honestly, mostly it's editing stand-up clips and. But I'm pretty involved in editing the big stuff. But yeah, now, just people like that. We have a producer for the show.
And what would you say? I know I have more people. I can't believe that I employ.
Yeah, you got more than me, I'm sure.
I can't believe it always blows my mind. But I just want to be a guy talking into a microphone. But anyway, when you tour, what's the mix of clubs to theaters?
It's probably like 60-40. I'm kind of like at the point where I guess I probably can do a theater like a lot of places, not like an enormous one, but kind of like a 800 to 1100. Like, and I do a lot of that, but I think that probably financially I'm at the place where it probably makes more sense for clubs, but also I think I kind of like being there for a weekend too. But what I do, my kind of take on it right now is I'll play a theater if it's somewhere that like I want to kind of look cool. Like I'll do it. Like I did a big theater in Toronto. I did a theater tour in America. Like we did a big place, like a big theater in London. I did the Wilbur. I did a theater in New York. But then anywhere else, I'll kind of, probably do clubs. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
All right, Ryan, it was great meeting you. As you can tell, I've been following.
Oh yeah,
your work
you know what?
while.
I should say then. Speaking of comedy, this weekend I'm in Houston and Austin.
I was going to ask where people can find you.
And then I'm going to Australia, actually.
Oh, where are you playing in Australia? I want to go to Australia.
It seems like it's going to be pretty cool. It's like selling pretty good. I'm doing, I don't know, the main places, Melbourne, Sydney, and then probably the 4 or 5 other biggest cities.
Perth, Adelaide, and whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Brisbane, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Australia would be cool. And then Houston, Austin. I'm actually taking 2 months off. I'm just going to stay in New York and like make videos because I've been on the road for like 8 months.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I know, dude. I'm like, feel like I put 4 years off my life.
We just did it. Europe. I took 8 jets in 10 days. That was heavy duty.
That's crazy. You know what I mean? It's just like that stuff, especially when you're still trying to like run your show and do all this stuff and you're arguing with people on Twitter, probably.
Yeah.
That shit breaks your brain down,
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, where can people find you?
YouTube.com/TheBoysCast is the podcast every Friday, and we do a sketch every week on the podcast too, and then I do videos at YouTube.com/RyanLongComedy. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is awesome.
Thany you for coming on, everybody. Check him out, Ryan
billion
Long.
View
Stuff
Ryan
is
Long,
very
ladies
funny.
and gentlemen.
You got
trillion view Jimmy Dore.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Bye, buddy.
Thanks, guys. You're the best. Appreciate it.
Hey, come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado, May 11th. Los Angeles, California, doing a live panel show with a celebrity panel and video. Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, with Max Blumenthal. Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Chicago, Illinois, with another celebrity panel, live video show in Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.